In this video, I'm going to be going through tips and tricks to help yourself out in gameplay when it comes to Dunk City Dynasty. These are going to be things such as the settings, the player abilities themselves, and in-game what you can do to hopefully win more games. This video is in partnership with Dunk City Dynasty, so massive shout out to them for making this video possible. What I'm going to kick things off with, first of all, before we hop into any gameplay specific things, are going to be the settings. And there are some which are going to be very useful when it comes to either turning off or on when it comes to in a game. The very first one is icon pass. Now, as you can see, this is turned on for me. Previously, if you watched some of my videos, I haven't had this turned on, but I've been using it on lately and it has become very, very useful. What essentially does is it assigns icons to different players in the form of numbers. So you can see on this screenshot, it's going to be 1 for player 1 and 2 for player 2. And this makes it really easy to say pass to a specific player instead of just pressing the pass button and it going to random ones and not really having a huge amount of control as to who it goes to. Yes, you can move the joystick, but here is a really clear way of just being able to typically press just 1 or 2 to go to that designated player. And I find this a lot helpful that you've got one player in a lot of space. You can easily pass it to them instead of having to move the joystick and it's sometimes not picking up. You want it to go to a specific player. This setting is really, really good, especially in ranked games where you're trying to get it to specific players and get them wide open looks. So that is the first setting I'd recommend you turn on. The second one I'm going to recommend you not necessarily change either way. This is something you're going to have to figure out yourself, but auto defense is a big one. You can either have this on where it's going to be just essentially you hold down the defense button and you're going to essentially get towards your player, or you can turn it off and just move around the court yourself. Personally, when I play the game, I do not really use the defense button a huge amount. I just sort of focus on trying to get closer to the players through the joystick itself rather than using the defense button itself, because of course it gives you a little bit more freedom just moving around the court. You're not say set in one position and it can ultimately get you into better positions to say block or get the steal, and I'll go on to that a little bit later when we look at the in-game stuff. If you want to go ahead and customize your controls completely, you can go ahead over here and just basically move the joystick to a different position, increase the size of it if you want to, move the different button around the court. Personally, I've just gone with the default setting. I find that's good enough. And you've also got yourselves the different sort of sections of the game. So you got normal mode, dynasty mode, and of course 5v5 full court run. You can go ahead and customize all of those different ones if you want to, say, change up the layout. Maybe you're playing on a tablet and you want to just sort of put stuff in the corner so you can play with a different grip. That is entirely up to you. Find what works with you and find what you want to go ahead and do. But personally, I'm just on the default one. It works fine for me, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The next one you should definitely change is have pump fake upon catch on, and this is really useful, especially for guards, because a lot of players do get a slight speed boost like Luka Doncic when you do a pump fake. So having this turned on will be very, very good in helping you get that separation between players, maybe get a shot off, or of course be able to drive in a little bit easier and get, say, a layup or a dunk off, which is going to be super valuable in this game. The camera settings are entirely up to you. Same with the interface pretty much. The court, it is very good if you have distance lines on, because this tells you how far away you are from the basket itself, and it can say get you in the right position to say do a specific dunk with a player. So for example, Paul George's 360 dunk needs to be at a certain distance before you can do that. Simple court, this is entirely up to you. It kind of like grayscales the court a little bit, makes it so there's not a huge amount of detail on the screen. That is up to you whether you want to do that or not. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the settings themselves. In terms of graphics, you can have it on whatever you want. Essentially, you want the smoothest game possible, so maybe that requires you to lower the graphics or the resolution, but you kind of want the frame rate up as much as possible to give you that sort of silky smooth motion when it comes to the game. The rest of it is pretty much down to you. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at now when it comes to practicing with your players. Of course, every player is very different. You've got Zion Williamson over here who's very good at getting dunks, and then you got Luka Doncic who's great at going around the court, and of course with his shooting is just absolutely great. So what I really recommend you do is take a look at your players in detail, especially their skills, and you can go ahead and watch a video of each of their specific skills. So you can see Zion here, unstoppable. It's showing me what it does. It's just going to be basically an unstoppable dunk with him. You got Tiger Instinct as well, and you could just cycle through each one of these abilities, and not just even the players that you're using. You want to try and look at everyone's abilities, because say if you come up against them, you know what you need to do when it comes to guarding them. So you can see LeBron James, he's got this king step ability over here, and it gives you all of this information with what it does. So it increases the block resistance, it permanently increases 3-point accuracy after a successful mid-range shot, and all of that stuff. So it's giving you all this information. Just take it in, try and absorb it, and then you can go into games and hopefully counteract some of these movements, whether it be the players you're coming up against, or you can use the players that you've got and use their skills to the best of your abilities and actually make a difference in the game itself. But before you actually go into a game, it might be useful to just practice. You can go into a different array of practices. Free practice is fairly good, where you can just test out a bunch of things, whether it be players' skills or just testing out their moves in general. So you can see Zion's unstoppable. I can test that out on this practice court over here. I can change the player to say get Steph Curry's ability as well, his Curry gravity, and then do a sidestep 3-pointer. You can basically go ahead and take a look at any player within the game itself in this mode. You can also see how you can do each of the specific abilities. So you can see he's got a soft scoop layup. You need to drag the joystick up and then press soft scoop over there. So this is a great way of just getting used to how the player moves and how you're going to be able to use them in a game itself. And one thing you can actually do in order to up this a little bit further is if you press on command and then scroll down, and you can see all of these different settings you can try and change. But one thing that is very good is pressing targeted skill defense practice. Now what this will do is put you up against a bot player. So this is going to be on Seth Curry at the moment, but you can change this to whatever player you want. So let's say LeBron James over here, and I will basically be defending against his special ability. So as you can see over here, it's got all of LeBron James's different abilities. I'm just going to tick king step over here, and you can see he's doing that move over there. And what you can do essentially is he's going to keep doing that move again and again and again, and your goal is to basically try and figure out a way of defending it as best you can. So that probably wasn't the best way. Of course, Curry up against LeBron is a bit of a mismatch, so it is going to be fairly tough to try and stop this move. But if you can try and get into a good position and try and actually get a little bit closer to him, then he will, of course, hopefully miss the shot, and you're wanting to try and go and get the block. So you can see I made it heavily contested, of course, because LeBron James's ability is absolutely nuts. He's going to make that one, but you get the idea. You can cycle through whatever players you want. If I wanted to go Giannis up against LeBron James and try with him to get the block, we can try that and see what happens. So I find this mode is great at just getting used to the player and of course other players as well when it comes to defending against them, and it is great before you actually go into proper ranked matches. Another mode that I find very useful to practice rebounding in particular is going to be when you press on 11 point over here, hit casual, then go on to custom, hit select, and then scroll down until you get boardroom. Now over here you can go ahead and change what player you're using. I'm just going to stick with Zion over here as my player. If you hit AI on all of these, it's going to fill out the rest of your spots, and you can go ahead and pick different players. If you want to practice your rebounding, maybe pick some sort of smaller players who aren't that good at rebounding to have on your team, whether that be like the Curry brothers on your team over here, and then on the other team you want to try and have players that are very good at rebounding. So maybe the centers, so you got Jokic, we'll put Embiid in there as well, and then Pau Gasol. You hit start over here and it will just create a game where you're trying to get those rebounds, and you can just go ahead and keep practicing again and again and again at timing your rebounds right. And this is going to be very useful in the game if you're using, say, a center or a power forward that's good at getting those boards, and it's all about timing. As you can see, the ball will flash when you can try and get the rebound. You just got to press it at the right time and it will give you the ability to get the rebound. So you can see everyone's under the rim and you just got to try and out rebounding. The positioning is also fairly useful to get yourself the rebound, but every shot is going to miss and you're always going to get a chance at getting the rebound over here. You can see they're going to miss the shot. I'm going to press the box out button, which kind of gives you a little bit more space against your opponents, kind of forces them out a little bit more in order for you to be able to get a better chance at getting the rebound. And then it's all about the timing. You want to get it just as the ball is flashing so you can get the rebound over everyone. Positioning does help a little bit. Of course, you want to be in a good position. You don't want to be too far away from the basket itself, but the main thing I found with rebounding is the timing itself. And of course, box out definitely helps getting yourself in a good position. I mean, if you can keep getting rebounds for your team, it gives them more and more opportunities to take shots and of course score if you're playing at that power forward or center spot. But when it comes to general gameplay stuff, the best tips that I can give you, aside from of course getting your rebounds if you are a power forward or a center, is just be around the player on defense. Make sure you're sticking close to them. You'll see every single player does have a sort of arc around them that goes green and red. When it's red, it means you're in a decent spot to be able to contest a shot or just put them under a little bit of pressure to make their shot a little bit more difficult. The more you can do that, the higher chance it will be of your opponent not being able to get their shot off and make the shot. And again, it comes down to whether or not you are using auto defense or not. Again, if you're just using the joystick to move around, just stick close to the player, right, and go for the block, and you've got a decent chance of maybe getting a block, especially when you've got a good player that has a decent block rating like Zion that I found's good. The other centers as well, Jokic and Embiid as well. All of those guys are great at getting the block if you're in a good position and you're applying the pressure to your opponent. Next tip I want to give is about sprinting. Make sure you're using these at the right time, whether that be there is a loose ball and you just want to use it. Maybe you just want to get away from your opponent a little bit so your teammate can pass you the ball. Whatever it is, make sure you're using them at the right moments in the game, because it does take a little while before you can actually use it again, and it only lasts a certain amount of time. So make sure you're using them at the right moments in your game. And the final one is very obvious, but take open shots. The more open you are, the more likely you are to make a shot. Of course, when you're using abilities, it does enhance your ability to make a shot itself. So you can make some ridiculous shots with some of the abilities, as I've been seeing with, say, a Luka Doncic card and stuff like that. But by taking open shots, it does increase the chance of it, of course, going in. And the better the shooter, the more likely it is to go in itself. So hopefully all of those tips and tricks will help yourself out when it comes to gameplay and hopefully winning games. I've got a decent record in the game at the moment. I'm sitting at a 73.8% win percentage with Zion off 42 games. Probably people have played a lot more than me, but it's not a bad win percentage over there. Again, shout out to Dunk City Dynasty for making this video possible. And if you want to go check out some Zion gameplay dominating in the game itself, go check out the video in the bottom left hand corner, and I'll see you guys over there. Peace.